Technology is wonderful when it works. It's made so much possible. I was just reflecting on starting this gathering, 5 years ago, and just so grateful that we had a way to connect during the pandemic. And it seems like it's still quite useful for us to have a way to connect where we can't be in the same place quite at the same time. One of the things I was thinking about with loop of awareness, I had two awarenesses, one for loop of awareness and one for love scoop. So for loop of awareness, it occurred to me that our loop of awareness is the quickest way to create presence. So whether I'm in my head or whether I'm experiencing some impasse with somebody else, or whether I feel stuck, or my energy, I'm not feeling in what I'm actually doing, that loop of awareness is also, I think, the quickest way to move from fear to presence. So we also say that your breath, when you slow down your breath, because it's usually, or you've stopped your breath. So if you start breathing and you slow your breathing down, but shifting your attention is even more primary than that in my experience. And so I'd like you to just notice, where is your attention right now? So is your attention more out because you're listening? Or is your attention more in and you're just coming out of being back in there? So let yourself just notice, where is your attention right now? And if you let yourself do a little, just an easy, like if I had a hacky sack and I'm just gently tossing it back and forth, just letting your attention move back and forth, from out there to in here, and let yourself notice, does that create more of a sense of presence, of being here? And what's the quickest way that you take yourself out of presence with your attention? So for me, the quickest way is, oh my God, out there. So it goes out into, oh my God. And so if in that moment, I just simply bring it back to me, and I don't even have to have any intention. It's just making the movement. So I'd love for you to let yourself get stuck and then let your attention move back and forth from in here to out there. And if it assists you to use movement, it always assists me if I let myself move my body, and particularly hands. And then just notice if that actually allows you to shift into presence. Notice if you experience presence when you do that. Because one of the things people say is, you're like, one of my friends talks about staying open or staying present. And that sets up an expectation that we cannot fulfill, because you are not going to stay present, just, you know, and so presencing, that's why I use the word presencing, because presencing, that verb, also allows the shift of your attention. So letting yourself actually practice not being here and then getting here, and not being here and then getting here, I think is very useful. So I'd like you to just do that a couple of times while I continue to riff a little bit about when we get distracted, we tend to go off. Inertia takes us off in that same line. So the oh my God becomes catastrophic thinking, and then we're way out there, and it takes a big effort to come back. So I like to, in fact, I don't think I have a hacky sack out here, but I'm going to bring one out. So I'd like you to just imagine, in fact, just let yourself imagine you have a very pleasant hacky sack, and let yourself toss it from one hand to the other. And just notice what that's like to just toss it. Like, so for me, there's a lightness when I'm tossing, there's a lightness to it, which I like to have with my attention also, that tossing and tossing, and then letting that toss your attention into you. So you're tossing it. So letting the toss go this way and then out. So in and then out, and then in and then out. And then just notice if you can take that motion, let your arms do whatever they want to do while you continue letting that sense of tossing your attention out and back and out and back. Because having practiced the loop of awareness for several decades, uh, what happens for me now is that I can go in and out at the same time. I can be aware of me and I can be aware of you. I can be aware of one of you and then the rest of you and then me and then what I want to do. So what you start doing is layering up your ability to presence more and more. So you can presence what you might want to be doing next and how you're feeling. And oh, there's a little twingy here. You got to stretch my foot out a little bit later. So you get all of this information that you can just include that doesn't take you away from being present. But as a fundamental, what I'd love for you to practice is your hacky sack or your balloon, if you want to get even lighter. So a hacky sack, you get your presence there, but balloon, you could toss a scarf, but the easiest way of tossing and then getting that motion, I love Darlene has got one to demonstrate for us. You can, there's and I'm a great fan of props. So when you're learning something, if you let it turn into some kind of creative expression, it involves much more of your imagination, it involves much more of your body. So when you get your tossing going, and then letting that happen with your attention, tossing your attention. So I'm tossing, I'm noticing we have the rails. We had rails put in on our doors after Gay fell, and they're in this beautiful blue. It's just this gorgeous blue. And I love blue. And so I notice my attention goes out to blue. And then when I bring it back to me, I get the vibration of that beautiful blue that I'm bringing back into my own presencing. And so as you're letting your attention toss, let yourself pause for a moment and notice your overall body vitality, but also the flow of energy. Do you have more flow going in you, having just done that little bit of tossing? And then anytime, see, one of the directions that we get, I think, in our social interactions is when you're interacting with somebody else to be still. It sort of like gets attached with being polite, so like don't interrupt them, and don't, and also don't be too big. So I think that one also creeps in. So I'd love for you to add in letting yourself, when you're interacting with someone else and you're imagining the toss, letting your body move. Because, what I notice is that most people have gotten to be real, stiff cardboards. And it really lessens your presencing, but also your ability to connect. So I would love it if, on a Zoom call where people are showing up, that everybody is moving. Wouldn't that be a completely different kind of interaction? So, and it doesn't have to be big, like your, look at me kind of attention, but it's really, I'm alive and a flowing kind of attention. And so that brings me to the love scoops. The main, we think of them as bringing love to yourself, but one of the things that a love scoop does, it says, I'm engaging, I'm here. I'm not just letting things happen to me and roll over me, I'm engaging. So I'd love for you to like reaching out for something that you want to include in your life and bringing it back into you, letting yourself reach out like, oh, I haven't reached out and really let myself take up my full space. Because when you're doing love scoops, you're also occupying your personal space, what we call your kinesphere. And this is your space. All of this, all of your reach space, mine goes out the window here because it and we lessen our own space to make room for others and to be polite. But what tends to happen then is that we let things just happen to us, and we tend to get more into a faint. So you're reaching out. If you let your reaching out include your torso, then it engages all of your body intelligence. So you're reaching out and going, wondering about, what actions do I want to take today to presence myself and to connect and engage with others? What co-creating can I do today? So let yourself notice, if you were just going to reach out and bring something in, does it engage your whole body? It's mostly like if you were reaching, to get, we just discovered a new restaurant that has great French fries. So I'm reaching out for a French fry. That would involve my whole torso. Yeah. But if you're just reaching out like for a glass of water, it probably doesn't involve your whole torso. And so there it tends to be no impact on your aliveness. But when you reach out and you bring that in and you let it land, like when I'm landing my hand here on my chest, I can feel the vibration of my speaking through my hand. So I can also hear it, but to feel it through my hand and then up my arm increases again my vitality, my sense of flow in my body, but primarily the I'm here, I want to engage. So I can be taking a stand for something. I can be reaching out for something that I want. I can be reaching out to throw something away. But that whole reaching and bringing into you lets you know that you have value. It lets your body know that you think you have value. And so you don't have to get it from everybody else. You can get it from your participating. So just take a moment and notice how all of that feels. One of the things I so appreciate about our gathering is that I'm opening up my vitality and my aliveness for the week. I'm exploring, what do I want to add to my presencing this week? And so just with this little bit that we've been playing with, I feel more of a flow of my aliveness. I feel more of a my breath and my movement are meeting each other. So just notice for you, what are the signals that you've increased your vitality? And what are the signals that maybe you're getting a little faint and it's time for some more love scoops and it's time for some tossing of your attention to refresh your presencing. So that would be one of the first invitations, is to refresh your presencing rather than trying to make yourself stay anyway or anywhere or making anything happen. So, Darlene, I'd love for you to show our card today. And this is a great one to let your attention go out into and then back into you. And part of what we're up to, what I'm up to with all of the skills that I've been sharing, over the last years, is to get friendly with moving into the unknown, getting friendly with taking a big leap into the unknown, which is basically every next moment is truly the unknown. And so bringing your presencing and your ability to experience yourself as a participating part of the universe is part of what I see in this. So as you're tossing your attention back and forth, let me just read. This is the one that I pulled out this morning, just anyway. Yes, this is the one. So whoever's not muted, please mute. I initiate conversations with authentic expression as well as responding to others' initiations. So the whole act of initiating for me is a kind of a toss. So that just notice how you receive that kind of invitation. I initiate conversations with authentic expression as well as responding to others' initiations. So if I initiate, that's kind of like it's kind of like a love scoop, because I am initiating rather than waiting to be invited, rather than waiting for the right moment, rather than waiting for the space. I initiate. And I have a little story about that I'll share with you in a minute, but let me share with you the question. How can I source and initiate authentic speaking in any situation? For example, initiating real communications without having to be begged, threatened, or coerced. So a lot of us think of our conversations as, um, being polite, waiting for people to give us permission, but initiating. I was just thinking of eggs and sperms. We can come on back to the big group now. One of my colleagues, way back when we lived in Colorado Springs, who we were exploring a lot of pre and perinatal conversations and explorations. And he said that adults are just eggs and sperm with illusions of grandeur, and that the egg, you may not know, the egg, aside from being gigantus, has no movement. So the sperm is basically all movement, and though conception is a coming together of movement and no movement and making you out of that. But a lot of us have our conversations, we treat our conversations like eggs. We're waiting. And so and initiating is a sperm movement. Initiating is, I'm going for it. And it has that same, when I'm reaching out, I'm going for it. I'm saying, hey, I'm here and I want to be included and I have something to offer and I want to say something. And if you initiate with something authentic, doesn't have to be profound. People confuse that with, you don't have to say something important. But when you initiate with something authentic, that is another incredibly valuable presencing move, because authenticity vibrates you in alignment with what's going on in you and allows the world to receive you in your essence. So this is one that I really love. And I'd like you to just assess, how often do I initiate conversations? So a place that I used to find scary to do that was going into a party or a gathering or a meeting where I didn't know a lot of people. And I would go into more of my eggy space, because I'm really I've regenerated my egginess and added a lot of sperminess, but I used to be hugely much more eggy, including that the lower part of my body was two sizes bigger than my upper body. I basically had a sperm upper body and an egg lower body. So there's a lot of things that you can play with, but your ability to initiate, to say, um, to appreciate someone, to say, oh, I love that color you're wearing, or something that, or I'm just feeling a little nervous, but I'd really like to meet you. So initiating, I think, is challenging for many of us. And so I'd like you to notice if shifting your attention and doing love scoops gives you more courage to initiate. And I'd love to hear, maybe in the chat next week, about what happened with your experiments in initiating with authenticity. Because I've had just a wonderful opportunity to initiate when I say, I'm feeling nervous, or I just noticed you and I thought, oh, I'd like to meet her, but then, oh, she probably doesn't want to meet me. So whatever, it is also blurting. So I'm a big fan of blurting and becoming unedited. So I invite you into that experiment. So we also have our Presence Connect Play for today. And if any of you don't have the Presence Connect Play app, please download it, because I think it can replace my reason for having the Presence Connect Play, because I've been talking about this and sharing it for years, is to replace the drama triangle. So that's where most people get their energy now, is from the adrenaline of being in the hero, victim, and villain. But if you got your energy from presenting and connecting and playing, what a difference. All right, so I'm going to refresh. Okay, so presence is breathe easy. And also each one of the prompts has an entire page on the website that supports this. So if you're going, well, how do I do that? And why is that important? And what does it look like? you can go to that page to explore more deeply. But one of the things I love about Breathe Easy is that it's so easy. So when I tell myself, so first let yourself breathe the right way. So first of all, just tell your body to breathe right. You know how to breathe, so breathe right, and notice how you experience that. So for me, that stops my breath almost immediately. So, but if I tell myself, breathe easy, or I meet someone else and I see them not breathing, or I see them breathing with difficulty, if I breathe easy, that invites them to breathe easy. So just try on breathe easy and notice how your body responds to that. Just a little breathe easy. I really like that one. And also we use easy a lot. So like easy world, letting life be easy, but particularly for breathing, because it's a shift into presence. And if you're paying attention, you go in and out of presence, probably several times every minute. But when you think of it and you choose to breathe easy and you choose to presence, you are rewiring your whole system to choose presence and to choose easy rather than hard work, which is what most of us have learned to do. So Connect says, oh, this is what came up. Give attention to where others' body and breath is open. So rather than giving attention to you're not breathing, let yourself notice where the breathing or the body is open. So it's really giving attention to what's working rather than what's not working. So I'd like you to let yourself just practice that, looking at other people. Oh, I noticed a whole lot of people stopped moving just then. So maybe a little bit of tossing, a little bit of love scoop. So when you're giving attention to others, most of us are not used to receiving. See if you would be willing to receive others' attention and other people noticing where you are open. Because our attention has great power. We used to, in workshops, back in the day, we now have 150 people in a room and 30 facilitators, and someone would be having, something going on, and I go over and I tell a facilitator, notice what you notice over there, what's tight. Notice where you're tight in your own body. Give that some loving attention, letting yourself presence that, and then notice what happens over there. It's a great experiment because your consciousness has tremendous power. And so if you're focusing on opening, both for you and others, my dress is drooping today. So I'm going to my dress is open today. So that was initiating with something authentic. So as you're letting yourself shift to noticing openness, to celebrating openness, to appreciating openness, to getting scared when you're open and then loving yourself for feeling scared for being open. That way you begin to rewire yourself to notice where the flow is rather than where the is. And when I notice openness, I'm connecting with you. And that connection is a source of nourishment that we all require. And especially right now, I think we need this in bucketfuls. So letting yourself give that to you and to others is probably one of the most loving things that you can do in your whole day. And then play. This is something I want to invite you to do as you're moving around in your world. This is a way to get into what we call essence pace. And the invitation is get way faster than way slower. And then if you get way faster, way slower, then your body is going to tend to find your essence pace or your essence range for that day. And one thing that I find is that when I'm moving in essence pace, the world becomes easy. My movement through the world becomes easy. And so I think one of the big choices is, are you going to let yourself have easy world? And that's something that you often need to just choose and then choose again and then choose again. So the emphasis toward play, I think, is even more important when things in the world look like they're not playful. You can be a source of play because play is much more effective than work. And we get conned into thinking that if you don't work hard, nothing good is going to happen. So letting yourself right now see if you would be willing to have easy looping and easy attention, and whether you'd be willing to create easy world for yourself this week. And then just notice, because you may go, yeah, I wanted to, and no, why do I always have to do it? So you could be doing some playing with tossing of easy world. Well, the world is just fucking difficult right now, so how could it be easy? And letting yourself play. So we don't want to coerce you into easy world, but to make an invitation that you can shift into letting things be easy and letting yourself play, which is basically tossing. Play is basically tossing because you don't know what's going to happen. And if you'd be willing to let play have more space in your life and more space in your body. All right. So that's our interaction for today. And thanks, Darlene, for taking over while Michelle is having her vacation, which I know she really appreciated. And she and Dean have both their birthdays and their anniversary at like in the same weekend. And so they do a big old celebration every year, which I think is very efficient and gives a lot of power to that. So thank you, Darlene, and thank you all for being with us in the middle of summertime. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. And good luck with the heat, Sherry. And, it's not my favorite experience. And I appreciate your letting yourself breathe through all of that and breathing through all of the stuff that's going on right now. So please stay and stay and play as long as you like. And I'll see you next time. Mwah. Take care.